Welcome back to the School Shrinks. This is episode 4. We have a lot of fun stuff to talk about today. I'm assuming you have read the title. So we are going to talk about the Imposter Syndrome or the Imposter Syndrome for the rest of you. But before we get to that, let's introduce all the people. As always, I'm Chris Ponce. How you doing, Brook Roberts?
Hey, Chris. I was good. I noticed my watch. I must have broken my watch this weekend because it's got a screen crack, and that makes me sad.
Did you do it in like a sick motorcycle accident?
I actually just noticed it. No, it was not. It was probably in my pocket or something, and something, slammed against it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, it makes you feel better. I went through 4 iPods in a row back in the aughts.
Mm-hmm,
and I washed every single one into the aughts, 2000 to 2009. Yeah. But I kept washing it in my jeans. I kept forgetting to take it out.
Huh. Wow.
But that was a very expensive trip.
Do you get replacements like warranty? You have some insurance on it?
No, man.
No.
I was 20. There's no way I'm warranty. I don't need that.
Did you keep the receipt from the Best Buys and take it back? Try to exchange it out?
I did buy them all from Best Buy.
Yeah.
No, I did the first time. They're like, well, I think I did the dumb thing and told them what happened. They're like,
oh, no,
that's on you, man.
Yeah.
What do you want me to do about that?
My parents called it the Best Buys. Best Buys. Let's go to Best Buys. No, it's a store. It's one store. It's called Best Buy.
Yeah. Well, as a joke, I sometimes like to use old-timey terms with the kids to kind of see if they get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So a kid asked me something the other day during testing. I said, oh, you can just look it up on the web. And there was a bit of awkward silence. And they're like, where? And I'm like, oh, the interwebs. And they're like, what? And so there's this nice little thing. We're like, oh, yeah, that's what we used to call it back in the day. And back in the day was the 90s, which doesn't seem that long ago. That's 5 years ago.
So
right?
We don't call it the web anymore?
I know. What are they calling it now?
Well, you guys do, but not Joel and
I. So what is it now? The cloud?
Yeah, you just call it the Google.
The Google?
Just Google it.
Yeah, you just the Google.
The Google.
Yeah, just Google it.
The Google. Does anybody use Bing?
Yeah.
Bing?
No.
Nobody uses Bing.
I do not use Bing.
No, I was watching a thing the other day, and it's I think 98% of people Google things instead of using any type of other search engine.
Yeah.
And if they do use another search engine, it's because they're already on the web page, and they're like, well, I might as well just use this. But sometimes people will still type Google into the search bar to go to Google.
I do.
And then do that. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, there's a whole thing about it. There's a whole controversy about Google.
I helped some older people, some senior citizens one time with their computer, and they were having problems. Have you ever sat and watched an elderly person navigate the web browser? They see a link and they click on it. It is like a kid.
Well, to be honest with you, bro, I sit next to you at every board meeting, so I see it every time.
I don't click on everything. Jeez,
Brooke.
Hey, Joel. Hey, Joel. Hey, go ahead. Go ahead. Joel's here. Go ahead.
Okay.
I got my one joke in, right? All right. Hey, Joel, how you doing? Welcome back from Turkeyville.
Oh yeah. Fresh. Back from Turkey. All of the craziness and stuff that you've been hearing in the media about the cancellations and delays. Yeah, that's it's real for sure.
So where'd you get stuck?
In Dallas, delayed in Dallas, and then, but the interesting thing was there was this whole visa issue that I could not seem to overcome until I was literally on the way over there, because I kept trying to book my visa over and over and over, and it just would not go through. It would not accept the payment. And so finally I was like, okay, well, I'm going to check the bank. And then they said, oh yeah, it keeps kicking it back because it's an international purchase. And then I was just like, okay. And then so I was all excited and said, we got it fixed and stuff. And then I tried to book it again, and then it still didn't go through. So then I had to call back again. And then, so I was thinking that I was going to be able to get a visa on arrival once I get over there, because they have on the website that certain countries, but then I was like, I was seeing some other stuff that said, well, no, that they're not allowing that anymore. it just was, and then my friend who was coming from India, he was having trouble. It was craziness. Once we got over there, it was fun though.
Which towns did you go to?
To Istanbul and then to Izmir, which is I think like 3 or 4 hours. It's like a hour flight or so. Just doing a lot of sightseeing, a lot of eating, a lot of just bargaining at the little shops and things like that. But it was fun. I enjoyed it.
You didn't go to
Good.
Constantinople?
I did not go there.
No?
No, you happen to go there.
There's a song.
Next time.
That's all I know. That's all I know.
Yeah, we were
Jesus,
in a section called Fateh or something is what our hotel was located in, the old city center, and so it was nice. It was like a lot of stuff around there that you could do, but not Constantinople.
Can I? And this is a legit question. Why did you guys go to Turkey?
Honestly, it was just. I know. Honestly, it was just. I don't know. We thought about. Brook is having a blast. We thought about several different places. We thought about Switzerland, just random. We've talked about it for a while. Nothing in particular. That wasn't like we want to go see this particular place. It was just kind of on our list of places to go. So,
Well, that's awesome, man.
Fun.
I'm glad you were able to make it back. Yeah. Would you recommend it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I didn't have the sort of excitement that I had. I know I told the story last time when I was in another country. Didn't have that sort of excitement go on. So it was nice. That was nice too.
That's awesome. Well, we're glad to have you back, Joel. And we're glad to see your dang smiling faces here. All right. For our segment today, we actually, somebody actually reached out to me and told me that Brook had promised on our first episode that we would address where the term shrink comes from, referring to psychologists. And on our second episode, we did not. So we are going to talk about it today, and we're going to talk about where it came from. So I did a little bit of research, which means I Googled it, and I just kind of clicked on the first thing. And so what it says is, a 1953 New York Times article on television industry jargon once again described head shrinker as Hollywood slang for a psychotherapist, but the term became more widely used after the 1955 movie Rebel Without a Cause, which involves scenes in which characters discuss going to a head shrinker. In 1966, novelist Thomas Pynchon made the first known reference to a psychotherapist as a shrink in describing the character Dr. Hilarious in The Scrying of Lot 49. Joel, who stars in Rebel Without a Cause?
Okay, hold on. Rebel Without a Cause. That's James Dean. That's Natalie Wood. I want to say Natalie Wood. I think too.
Yes. Yes.
All right, Joel.
And then
impressive.
The other one, Mineo, Sal Mineo, I think.
Very nice, Joel.
Yes.
Joel Bell.
Yeah. I love classic movies. I love them.
Okay, good. Well done. Well done.
Wow.
Hey, all right, fine then. How about this? What was the last movie James Dean filmed before he passed away in his car accident?
That was 1955, so that must have been something about East of Eden or something about a garden or...
It was Giant.
Giant, yes.
Right. And do you know where Giant was filmed?
It's in Texas, right?
Marfa, Texas.
The U.S.?
Marfa, Texas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And that's when they decided to put up the Prada store afterwards, right?
Yeah. It's a little ways away, but near there. Yeah.
Was that good enough? Was that the definition that you had, Brook?
Oh, I really didn't.
Yeah, was that the definition you had?
I thought it was like we helped shrink people's problems.
Well, so apparently the head shrinker metaphor reflects the feelings of fear and mystery and hostility traditionally associated with the profession, right? So you get scared going into it, but the idea is they're going to shrink that fear and make it go away.
Ah, okay. All right. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, there you go.
it is a little. I guess there been some controversy surrounding the term. I mean, like as an
It's
antiquated.
outdated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
outdated and
It's a little negative.
sure. So, should we
But I mean,
rename
who-
ourselves?
Yeah, how about school psychologists? That's a school psych joke.
So, school psychologist YouTube channel.
There you go, right?
Let's
I think
keep
we,
it.
All right.
I think we initially were like thinking the school psych bros or something like that.
Oh, the brothers.
Oh yeah, we kicked around a bunch of different names. The brothers, yeah. Yeah.
There's a
Now
group
you-
of
now you
women. There's a group of, I don't think they have a YouTube channel, but there's a group of women called the School Psych Sisters.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't know they were getting a shout out today, did they?
No, but we just gave it to them.
That's awesome.
Look at that.
That's awesome. All right.
All 12 people now know about the School Psych Sisters.
But that's for that special listener out there who had a question about where shrinks came from, and we still held up our end of the bargain 2 episodes later.
Yeah.
So, boom.
There you go. Subscribe.
Special topic today. The episode title is Imposter Syndrome. We all go through it. We thought it'd be a good idea to kind of talk about it since we are all psychologists. And it's something that I think a lot of people deal with on a daily basis. But here, let me kind of define it real quick. So it refers to an internal experience of believing that you are not as competent as others perceive you to be. And it's really kind of the opposite of like an armchair quarterback, right? So like when you're watching sports and we all do it, whatever you're watching. And I know I said sports, but it's the easiest thing to explain. You're watching a game and you're like, oh, why didn't they just do whatever, right? It's very easy for us to say that from our house when we think we know everything. But it's the opposite, where you're in the field. We know Joel can do everything. We know he's super confident, but he still has those negative self-talk, those negative self-esteem that like he can't do it. Sorry, Joel. There's only 2 people on the screen, so I already hit Brook earlier, so I got to go for you this time. But do you guys experience this ever? Because I do. I experience it all the time.
So when I think about an imposter, so I think about being a poser. And I don't know why they're kind of associated together. But when I tried to be a skateboarder when I was like 4th or 5th grade. And I really just didn't have the coordination to be a skateboarder. And so I just then began to pretend that I was a skateboarder, and I did tricks in the air without my board. And so I thought I was...
You just like ran and jumped.
I would just jump off of a tree and try to turn around in the air, pretending like I was holding a skateboard. Yeah. Can you imagine?
Well, yeah, I actually can't imagine. I feel like that's almost a third category, right? You have the armchair, that people can do it but don't try anything. The people, and then imposter, the people don't think they can do it but can, and then Brook, who can't do it but still perseveres and tries it at a limited level.
Yeah. So this is so you're saying imposter syndrome is a little bit different. It's when you've got the skill, you've got the ability to do it, but you lack the confidence, even though people are saying that you do have the ability and skill to do so. Right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know, whenever I think about this term too, I think about medical students because I hear them talk a lot about imposter syndrome and not feeling like they're good enough, especially once they start getting into the hospital, or even when they get to reach residency. And they're being quote unquote pimped by their their residency manager or whatever. And they're like, well, I just don't feel good enough. Everybody around me seems to know what they're doing. And I just don't. I just don't seem like the knowledge is there. But then when it comes time to do it, then I seem to get lost. I hear tons of medical students talk about this phenomenon. But going into my internship year, I was thinking that a little bit because, as we talked about in the COVID episode where my practicum was interrupted and I went into internship and I was just like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm going to know this stuff. I don't know. I've never presented at an art meeting. And so everybody, when I go to the first one, even though I know what I'm talking about, I still feel like I'm saying the wrong things, or I'm not going over enough. So I definitely have experienced that. Although I had some confidence, I still thought everybody, because of their experience, they would have been like, no, he didn't know what he was talking about. He doesn't know it. He doesn't need to be in this program. So
But nobody ever explicitly said that, though, right?
no, not to me. Not to me, but, and not that I know of, but I have, when I felt that going through internship. I know we did have one concern early on about a family. I was doing their child's evaluation, and there were some concerns. They were like, "Well, I don't know if we want a intern doing it." And I know that they had approached my supervisor about it. It wasn't because of anything I had done or I hadn't done, but it was just that I was an intern and I was just starting out. And so they did express some concerns to my supervisor about that. And so that kind of made me feel a little bit like, but I talked to everybody about it and they were fine eventually. So,
Yeah. Well, early in my practicum career, like one of the first couple of evaluations I ever did, I was with the contracting company, and I did the normal stuff that we do, cognitive and academic testing, and I wrote those up, and then I sent it into the school psych on campus, right? The issue was, at the time, I didn't know that you had to write the entire evaluation regardless of what you're testing, right? So I didn't do like background information. I didn't do health. I didn't do language. I didn't do all those other sections that we normally typically do. So that school site had emailed back. Now the issue was the way that they emailed me back was available to be seen by everybody who worked in the company.
wow.
It had stuff, and they're like, "Oh, Chris did an evaluation. He has not completed the evaluation. He's missed all these different parts," and it was listed out exactly how many parts that I had missed, what I didn't put in there. I didn't make a decision on the criteria, because up until that point, I had just written cognitive and academic, and I hadn't gotten to the point of me finishing and making a determination in eligibility. And that shot my confidence incredibly low, to not only be blasted by somebody in our community, but also done it in such a public forum that all of the people that I worked with could see it as well. And it wasn't even like you had to go look for it. Like, it just got put up on like the front page of the thing that we use to divvy out work. And that hurt multiple different ways.
Yeah.
To like have to see that. And then also my ability of like, I'm trying to do this for a living and I'm already getting destroyed right off the bat. And so that set me back, like, confidence wise, immensely.
I think it's also important to note that we can experience imposter syndrome even in different roles. It may not necessarily be as professionals or mental health professionals, but we might also experience imposter syndrome as a parent, as a mother or a father, or in other professions. I know teachers, especially new teachers, begin to experience some of that imposter syndrome, as they're beginning. Are there things that we can do to minimize some of those adverse reactions or thoughts about it?
Well, I was looking at an article from American Psychological Association, and they had some good points on that. And I think that one of them was just kind of like we're doing now, sharing some of those failures and stuff too, because I think that when you go into so many different fields, everybody talks about how knowledgeable they are. I've been doing this for this long and I've had this success, that success. But I do think that sharing, being able to share your failures kind of humanizes everybody. And I think that that's a good way to sort of minimize the imposter syndrome, especially if you're just coming into a field. Those people who have been, those veterans of the field, can share their failures and not necessarily to make somebody feel good, but to just, again, humanize yourself.
I think it's also important to kind of be humble as well and be willing to take feedback. And I don't necessarily mean like stubborn or be sensitive or anything, but I think at that same point in my life, whenever I took direction, I took it as almost like as an attack on me as well. So I immediately was like, oh, well, I guess I'm not good enough then to do this. Instead of saying like, all right, Brook has given me instruction on how he can make me better. He's trying to help me. But I took it a different way. And I think that greatly affected, how I approach situations and when I was given different type of instruction or direction.
Chris, was that the first time that you had experienced something like that, like publicly, about maybe a mistake or a quote unquote shortcoming that they felt that you had? Like, was that the first time that happened? Something like that to you?
Oh my God, no! You kidding me? But that was the first time in my professional adult job life. I mean, I've been reprimanded at work before, and got written up for like little things, but that was the first time that it was like something that like I actively had wanted to do and had poured so much of my like life into it. And I was like, this is what I'm doing for my life. And I was like, oh, right off the bat, already messed up, already been blasted. Guess it's all uphill from here, right? I hope so. But at that time I was like, oh shoot, man, I can't do this,
Yeah.
And I had a good support system that like would tell me like, you're perfectly fine. The way they approached it is maybe not the best way, putting everything out there so that everybody can see it. And that's what really messed me up. But they were able to kind of help me and let me understand that you are fully capable of doing this stuff. Having that good support system was crucial to just going forward, And I know I'm just talking about this one situation, but it's the most glaring one. I got imposter syndrome every single day. That first time I went to my first board meeting, like I looked around the room, and I didn't even know who Brook was, but now I know Brook is phenomenal and is an amazing person.
Oh yeah.
But I look around the board, but it's the who's who of like school psychs in the state of Texas. And I'm like, what the hell am I doing here right now? Like, am I just here to carry bags or carrying like, and that's what I always volunteer for manual labor the whole first week. And I was like, you need ice chest carried in? I can do that. Like, I can do that. So, but yeah. And to this day, I still got it. But I think Brook brings up an excellent point about in other areas as well. Like, it doesn't have to be in your job, but being a parent, like, can I raise this thing? Can I keep it alive? Right. That's a big deal. Or I'm a psychologist. Can I do the things I preach to this child?
Well, I think I even experienced it even as a newlywed, like as a husband, like on our honeymoon, we're sitting there looking at each other going, we're too little to be traveling to New York by ourselves. I mean, we're like 21, 22 years old and we're babies and like we're traveling to these big cities doing things. And you just have this thought of, wait a second, like, what am I doing? I'm not prepared for this. Like, how did I get into this situation? So, and so maybe that lends itself to maybe some grounding techniques, to really look around you and kind of have a reality check and say, you know what, maybe there's some opportunity for some self-talk, to really listen to what your thoughts are and to challenge any of those thoughts that may be invasive in some ways.
Yeah. And I think you bring up a good point. There's a famous for Brook, Joel, and I, in our world, organizational psychologist named Dr. Adam Grant. And he says that, imposter syndrome is a paradox, right? So other people believe in you. You don't believe in yourself. Yet instead of listening to those other people, you believe yourself instead of them. So what are you, like Brook said, that negative self-talk seeps into you. And you're willing to listen to all the negative stuff, but not all the positive stuff that's actually going on. So are there instances, Brook, where you've used positive self-talk to help get you out of a situation, or, turning nervousness into like excitement? I've tried to do that, but that just may be the ADHD that just takes over in those moments, so.
Yeah. I mean, I can think of a couple of times where I have, you were talking about, situations when you've kind of screwed up professionally, and made a mistake. I think those situations are, maybe lend itself more to having a reality check. Because I think there is a level of humility that's built into that. It's these other situations where, there are people who have a lot of confidence in you, but you're not experiencing. And so you're not hearing those voices being being negative towards you because they're not. Your own voice is negative, and I think that's where it may be more challenging to recognize that, and then maybe to put more confidence or more faith in those people around you who are saying, giving you a pat on the back, saying you're doing a fine job. Stop doubting yourself.
Yeah. Well, and kind of what you're talking about, a very specific example I had was right after I got my bachelor's degree in anthropology, which is super cool and fun. Couldn't find, I was convinced I was going to get a job with that. I was like, oh yeah, it's going to be very, very easy. Don't you worry about that. I did not get a job. So I wanted to go back to grad school, but I was so scared to go back because I didn't think I was going to be capable of doing it and all the life. But my wife was like, Chris, you can do this. Like, go do it. Like, you want to do this. You're fully capable of doing it. And it was like almost like taking little steps, like just apply. We'll just see what happens when you apply. And then, all right, you got in. What do you want to do? Do you want to do it? And I'm like, yeah, then let's do it, and just taking those little steps. But she was a huge support system in getting me started in this world. I'm sure same way, friends, family, spouses, loved ones, like same thing, right? Just always got your back, hopefully. Or I'm sure there's moments you can almost pinpoint where they were able to help you get through a situation that you felt that negative energy kind of seeping in, right?
Yeah. And I think that the support system is huge. That encouragement, like you said, I got that a lot too from my supervisor throughout this entire process of me going through my internship, and that really helped me a lot too. Just to know that you have somebody who is humble, who has been licensed for a long time, but who is there to support you and not to make you feel like everything that you do wrong, you should feel bad about it. I think that helps too when you go into a situation or a work environment where you have that sort of support too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we've talked about what imposter syndrome is, why it occurs, what we could do. But is there any silver linings? Is there anything that one thing that I kind of read that I didn't even think about is, if you're constantly worried you aren't truly qualified for something, this may push you to constantly work on improving your own skills, right? Ultimately, you end up more qualified because you've almost, like, at least with me, that obsessive self-improvement just happens, right? Because I'm like, there's no way I can do this. I might as well make myself better at it so I can one day do it. And I'm chasing my tail trying to catch up, and I don't think I can, but it incidentally, tangentially, it makes me better at what I do, even though I feel like I still can't, I'm not great at it,
Yeah. So I guess I would give a kind of an example of, I grew up playing baseball, but I never, a few years ago, I was asked to coach a little league team. And I like baseball, I enjoy it, but I didn't know the first thing about coaching. And so I kind of experienced that imposter syndrome. And I think, human nature is for us to do things that we're good at. And so if we're not good at something, then we're less likely to engage in that task in the future. And so you're talking about maybe the silver lining is if you are lacking confidence in your ability, then maybe that pushes you to learn to acquire the skill. And so for me in that situation, I wasn't good at coaching. I didn't have confidence in my coaching abilities. And so I went and sought out information and expertise on how to become better, which then what did it do? It boosted my confidence somewhat. And it was nice once we beat those kids.
And Brook now works for the Yankees as a first baseman track.
So, Joel, what were you going to say?
I think that the silver lining too is also that you're definitely not alone in this phenomenon of imposter syndrome. You're definitely not the only one who feels that way. So you don't have to feel like you're alone in those sorts of feelings. Most people, if not all, go through some sort of insecurity about what their abilities are, whether or not they, have a lot of confidence or have a lot of bravado. There are a lot of individuals out there who appear to have a lot of confidence, but they still have a lot of the same insecurities. So just recognize that you're not alone in those feelings, and just talk to people about it. Talk to your coworkers and your families about those same things, because I can guarantee you it will help.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe some other benefits: motivation to work harder than anyone around you because you feel like you're already behind. Openness to a new way of doing things. How else can you approach this problem? How else can you get better? I know I've used that in our professional career to just reassess how I do assessment, right? How am I approaching doing an assessment? Whether it's due to just the sheer amount of caseload, the amount of kids we need to test, how can I make this more efficient, but also the quality does not suffer whatsoever? And then becoming a better learner, right? You're approaching problems from different avenues, from different streets, from different roads. And because of that, you now have unique perspectives whenever you approach problems, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Any final thoughts on imposter syndrome, guys?
If I'm watching this episode and thinking about it, I guess it brings up the question of what am I experiencing right now, that I'm feeling like an imposter in, and what can I do about it? And so I think this kind of brings up, and it doesn't just it doesn't have to be just in your job or in your employment, in your occupation. It can be in any role that you may have where you have to fulfill some sort of responsibility. And you don't feel capable of doing so. So this may just be an episode that spurs people on to do a reality check. And if you feel like that maybe you're experiencing some of that imposter syndrome, this is an opportunity for you to to make some improvements, and get some feedback from others.
Yeah, and let us know in the comment section your stories and ideas about imposter syndrome as well, because we definitely like to hear.
Absolutely. Reevaluate, look at the positives as you are dealing with this type of stuff. Why do you feel this way? Was there a moment that it happened that has set you on this path? Maybe reevaluate that entire moment and kind of see why you have these feelings, right? Start hyping yourself up. You guys are doing great stuff, right? Be the person that you want to be. Push yourself to that stuff. Join us again as we go through this weird journey of the school shrinks. Thank you for listening to us as we babble on about nonsense and whatever. And also, don't forget, be the reason someone smiles.